pick. Sometimes the A's, sometimes the deuces. There's one life and there's no return and no deposit. One life, so it's time to open up your closet. Life's not worth a damn till you can say, hey world, I am what
Good afternoon, everybody. What a great way to start the show today. Welcome to MTC Live, and we're really excited to be here on this very special MTC Live. That was Andrew Foote doing I Am What I Am from La Cage aux Folles, the musical, as I'm sure many of you recognized. It's a great way to lead into what's happening here at MTC this weekend, which is called Pride in the Theater. You know, this year, June is always Pride Month, and actually, this is the 50th anniversary of the first Pride Month, which is really, really exciting. But because we're in the situation that we're in, a lot of the Pride events have either been canceled or postponed until later. But we wanted to step in and fill that void so that we all can celebrate Pride at the same time. And what better way to celebrate it than for the influence that theater has had on the LGBT movement. So that's what this event is all about this weekend. It is a live stream at 8 o'clock on Saturday. So we hope that you will tune in. You can either go to the MTC website or Facebook Live to tune in to it. I promise you, this is an extraordinary event. It's a fundraiser for MTC, and we are partnering with the Pride Center of New Haven. And so they're going to get part of the proceeds as well. So we hope that you'll join us for that. The talent for this is absolutely amazing. Over 20 Broadway performers, including Josh Lemon and Fernell Hogan from the original cast of The Prom, which, as you know, was like the signature LGBT show this year, and a very, very special performance by Tonya winner Joanna Gleason, who's a dear friend of mine, and I'm so glad that she jumped in and wanted to be a part of this. So we're really, really excited about that. We also have special guests, Dr. Gary Blick, who was one of the very first pioneers to do research and development for AIDS. He is fascinating, and you're not gonna wanna miss him. And also my good buddy, Jonathan Lovitz, who started out as an actor, but is now a national spokesman for the LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, also the national vice president, and a pundit for MSNBC and NBC and CNN. So you're going to see all of those folks here at 8 p.m. this coming Saturday. So we don't want you to miss that event. We're also very lucky because we have one of the Broadway stars here to talk to us a little bit about his journey as an actor and as a member of the LGBTQ community. So we're really, really excited to have him here. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, from the Broadway cast of South Pacific and the MTC companies of Fun Home and the Bridges of Madison County, please welcome my good buddy, Greg Roderick.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Yeah. So first of all, let's get to the sort of like elephant in the room. How are you and Alan doing with the whole reopening of New York and all of that? How's that going down there?
We're doing okay. Alan works for one of the Broadway shows in the wardrobe department, and he is currently laid off, and we don't know when the Broadway world is going to come back online. So he is adapting to a new life at the moment. Besides being an actor, I also do a lot of different freelance work, including film editing. So in mid-July, everything kind of dried up for me over a week, and then things have slowly been getting back online. I've been busy doing some editing, and a couple of my other freelance jobs have come back. So we're making a go of it in that way. But as the world is getting back to normal in New York. We pass by cafes, and they're starting to seat people outside, and you can go get to-go margaritas at your favorite Mexican restaurant. So we're taking walks in the park and having some margs, and so yeah, we're adapting. We're eager for life to get back to normal, but we will do that when it happens.
That's great. That's great. So let's talk a little bit about the roles that you've done here. Particularly, you played Bruce in Fun Home here, which is such a great piece, and your performance was absolutely stunning in that. One of the things that we talked about when we were doing the show was how different the journey was for a gay man, especially. It takes place in Pennsylvania, in kind of rural, a small town in Pennsylvania. So how did you prepare for that, and how did you sort of put yourself back in that world that is so different than it is now?
Well, I grew up as a child in the 70s, and I grew up in the Midwest, and I knew those men. I still know those men. They're very familiar types to me. They're these men that grew up in small towns. They live with, they're surrounded by fear, and they're surrounded by what other people will think, and they make choices that are not necessarily the most healthy choices. They choose to stay in the closet. Many of them decide to marry people of the opposite sex, which usually is not a happy situation, because they're so unhappy with themselves, they make other people unhappy. They make their families unhappy. And that was the case in Fun Home, is that Bruce is really a tortured soul, and he takes his torture out by torturing his wife and children. And so it was a story that was very familiar to me. It did not happen within my own family, thank goodness. But I knew of the sad single man living in the house down the street who was clearly homosexual, and everybody made fun of him. Or I knew of, and I still know of, some people that go to my hometown church who are closeted, and they are miserable, and you can tell they're miserable. I mean, they might have this horrible hairpiece on and just trying to hide themselves in every way, and they're just so buttoned up and just so sad. And so I was able to, I just knew those people. And so when I got my hooks into Bruce, I really knew how to put my feet into his shoes, because I knew those guys. Great.
I think events like the one that we're doing this weekend are really important for a number of reasons, especially right now. Why do you think this event is important, to do things like this that actually tie theater and the LGBT community all together? And what attracted you to want to be a part of this?
Well, I mean, theater is always a teaching tool. It's always something that exposes people to things that they may not necessarily be exposed to in their own lives normally. And visibility is really the key to educating people. And so being an out gay man, being visible, it educates people as to who we are. Again, growing up in the Midwest, I think there's so much fear based around what a gay person is. And so that was always, people, quote, hate what they fear. And so they don't like gay people, or didn't like it. It's gotten so much better. But I think that's, for years, I remember in the late 90s, the thought of being married, which I thought would never happen for me in my lifetime, was going to just not ever happen, because there was so much vitriol in the 90s towards gay men. I think that was coming out of the AIDS crisis and everything else, but there's just so much vitriol from the extreme right against gay men. And in just a period of 10 years, it just was a landslide domino effect. And I think that was in large part to people coming out, becoming visible, having theatrical pieces that taught about the gay people, that we weren't these creatures that were made up in people's minds as to what we were. And I think when we started humanizing ourselves, they suddenly saw we were people who want love and have partnerships. I mean, people have been together 35, 40 years and they still weren't able to get married. And that, I think, really struck a chord with the straight community in seeing, oh, what if I wasn't able to marry the person that I love, that I've been with for 40 years? And so I think that that's what caused the dominoes to fall so quickly. And I think events like this are so important because it is a teaching tool to put a face on the gay and lesbian and LGBTQ community.
I think so too. I think so too. We're so excited to be doing this. You know, it's a kind of a mixed time right now from a civil rights standpoint too, because in the last several years, a lot of the rights that we had worked so hard to get have gotten rolled back until this week, when the Supreme Court finally stepped up to the plate. Tell us what that means. I mean, we all have our own feelings about when something like that happens, our own personal feelings. Tell us what that meant to you to see the Supreme Court 6-3, you know, vote to outlaw discrimination in the workplace for LGBTQ people.
Yeah. Well, with civil rights, it's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So, you know, the day before, we saw the Trump administration decide to roll back rights for trans people or protections for trans people in the medical field. And so that was just so heartbreaking and, you know, infuriating. And we could go on for days on all of that. But then the very next day, the Supreme Court ruled to, end discrimination in the workplace. And while that personally has never affected me because I work in the arts and that's just not something that really affects me. So people don't get fired in the arts for being gay. I mean, 80% gay. But you have people in law firms and in corporate America and all over the country who do. And so that was a civil right that really needed to be enshrined in and the Supreme Court. What was really amazing was to see not only did it pass, but didn't squeak by. I mean, it was a clear majority, which was really amazing to watch. And yeah, that means that has meant a lot. Just like it did with the marriage in 2015, when the Supreme Court ruled in 2015, it was years of trying to get that passed, and then it did. And so this has been another huge cause for celebration. It's going to make gay pride feel that much more special again this year. The Supreme Court loves to give us little happy surprises right in Pride Month. I don't know. It's a nice thing.
It's like June. It's great. Yeah. And I think that, the more we're in a period of time right now that the more things get pushed down, the more there's pushback. I mean, 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, when Charlottesville marched, the Nazis marched through Charlottesville, and we wanted to take down all the Confederate statues. And there was this big push of like, no, you cannot do that. Well, now with, the Black Lives Matter movement, people just have had it, and those statues are coming down. I mean, the people are out in the streets just pulling those statues down. They're like, nope, we are not taking this anymore. And I feel like I'm hopeful that this is a real turning point in civil rights with Black Lives Matter, but in general with civil rights, that things are just, the dam is breaking, and we are just not going to allow that kind of hatred and discrimination to happen anymore. Well, I absolutely hope you're right. And we certainly hope that Pride in the Theater this weekend helps contribute to that and helps contribute to the positive, not only the celebration, but, we're starting right around Stonewall and bringing everything all the way to the present day, which will feature cuttings from plays and musicals that have had an impact on the gay rights movement for the last, whatever that is, 50 years, I guess. Yeah. 50 years. It's unbelievable. It's great. Well, thanks so much for coming in, Greg. We really appreciate it. I cannot wait to see your performance this weekend. It's so great to see you. And we're going to
so great to see you.
There. Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. See you soon.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
So, Pride in the Theater this Saturday at 8 p.m. Please go on Facebook Live to see it. And if you want more information about it, I think we're going to have a crawl along the bottom here in a few minutes. There we go with our website. There's plenty of information on there and plenty of information on all the great talent you're going to see here. So Greg has been so great and so generous, but we're going to be able to see him one more time because we have a little bit of a film of him playing Bud in Bridges of Madison County here at MTC. So we hope to see you Saturday night. And in the meantime, have a great rest of the week, everybody, and we will see you soon.
I'm gonna take her on a trip this year. Maybe next summer. Not like we're gonna have the money for vacation. I guess we'll figure something out.